Our story kicks off with Jack Lambert, right after taking a tough loss in his political run. So what does he do? He tells his gorgeous wife Maggie that they need a getaway, a trip down to his dad's old country house to clear his head. They arrive, and the place is a total mess, practically untouched since his old man passed away. Jack finds everything exactly how he left it as a teenager. Now, since we're in the near future and tech is totally off the charts, Jack stumbles upon an old digital frame. Inside, a picture of his younger self with his high school sweetheart, Elise. Maggie spots it. She asks about the girl, mentioning how cute she is. Turns out, Maggie already knows the backstory. Elise went on a one-way trip to a space colony 20 years ago and never came back. Later, they head out to tidy up the yard and get the power running. But they're completely clueless. Jack tells her they gotta wait for his childhood buddy, Patrice. He's coming over tomorrow to help them get this place back in shape. Jack and Maggie end up having a pretty sweet romantic night. Maggie? She's doing her absolute best to keep his mind off that brutal election loss. Cut to the next day. They hit up the local grocery store. Jack leaves Maggie for just a second to grab some drinks, and boom, he is absolutely paralyzed. Right in front of him is Elise, his ex-girlfriend. And get this, she hasn't aged a single day since he last saw her. Jack watches her, completely mind-blown, until she accidentally bumps right into him. But she doesn't even recognize him. She just walks away. Jack is left standing there, feeling like he's stuck in a fever dream. He rushes back and starts digging through old articles about Elise's space launch from 2 decades ago. He's deep down the rabbit hole, but has to cut it short when Maggie walks in with his buddy, Patrice. Jack hasn't seen the guy in years, but the second Maggie steps out of the room, Jack spills the beans. He tells Patrice he saw Elise. Patrice knows all about her 20-year deep sleep in space and drops a massive truth bomb. He tells Jack that of course she hasn't aged. Thanks to lightspeed travel and cryosleep, she's practically frozen in time. Nobody ages during time travel. Jack knows this firsthand, since he actually worked on that very program, but he's totally baffled. Why did she come back? And why exactly after 20 solid years? Jack can't stop talking to Patrice about her. He's asking where she lives, what she's doing, telling him he just has to see her. But Patrice shuts it down. He reminds Jack that she's still only 18. Those 20 years, they felt like just 2 months to her. Patrice tells him straight up, Jack won't even know what to say to her. To Elise, he's just an older stranger now, not the 20-year-old boyfriend she left behind. Jack spends all his time obsessing over Elise, flipping a coin in his hand. He just can't resist the urge to see her and talk to her. So he actually goes to her house, but he just watches her from a distance. The next day, Jack is out jogging with his wife, Maggie. He spills the tea about time travelers, how they rarely ever come back. But Elise? Some weird glitch happened, and she returned after 20 years. Maggie is absolutely shell-shocked. Jack is terrified she might be jealous about his ex returning, but her shock turns into pure excitement. I mean, this stuff never happens. She insists they have to invite her over for dinner. A girl returning from space after 20 years? That is definitely not your everyday story. Cut to the next day. Jack spends way too much time picking out the perfect outfit. He's getting dressed up just to go invite his teenage ex-girlfriend to dinner. Now, Elise is living with her sick dad. He's struggling with heavy drinking because he was actually on that same space trip with her, but he fell into a deep depression after they got back. That's why he hits the bottle so hard. Jack arrives at Elise's place. He's rocking his usual politician suit, but inside, he's got the heart and nerves of a teenage boy about to face his first love after all these years. The second Elise opens the door and they start talking, she pulls him into a hug. She knows exactly who he is, her Jack. She tells him he's definitely grown up and the 20 years really show on him. She actually felt it was him back at the grocery store. Jack hands her a box she dropped at the market, saying he bought it for her, but she just laughs. She actually works there. And it wasn't even hers. Jack then invites her to dinner, dropping the bomb that his wife is with him, and they've been married for 5 years. He tells her that he and his wife would love for her and her dad to come over. You can totally see Elise gets bummed out finding out he tied the knot. She's completely torn on how she's supposed to feel about him now. I mean, he's definitely not the same guy or the same age she knew 20 years ago. To her, that was just 2 months. Right before dinner, Jack gets a call from one of Maggie's friends. Turns out the current candidates for governor are a mess. One's dealing with health issues, and the other, zero charisma compared to Jack. Maggie immediately sees the silver lining. This is his golden ticket to jump back into the race. They start pushing hard to get him to run. Fast forward to dinner. Elise shows up with her dad, Hank. Maggie greets them with open arms, totally fangirling over Elise's insane space journey. But Hank, you can just tell this trip ruined his life. He's absolutely miserable, coming back to find the whole world moved on 20 years without him. Then, Maggie drops the question. How exactly did Jack and Elise meet? Jack plays dumb, pretending he can't remember. So Elise takes over. She tells them they met at the movies. She was buying a ticket and dropped her cash. He helped her pick it up, but kept one single coin. Suddenly, Jack finishes her sentence. Maggie instantly connects the dots. That's the exact same coin Jack's been carrying around for 20 years. Oh yeah, she gets super annoyed and jealous. Elise throws the question right back. How did Maggie and Jack meet? Maggie keeps it simple. They bumped into each other at a bar, grabbed some late-night food, and 2 years later, they tied the knot. But Maggie makes sure to add a little sting, pointing out that relationships and feelings, they always change. The conversation shifts back to space. Elise talks about being in deep sleep. She only remembers tiny flashes, the freezing cold on her skin, this heavy pressure on her eyes and mind. But at the same time, she felt totally weightless. She says it was pure peace and safety, just like a baby in the womb. That was her whole vibe out in space. Jack asks the heavy question. What about the years she lost? She brushes it off, explaining she didn't feel those 20 years at all because she was in a totally different state of consciousness. And when she finally opened her eyes, it was pure magic, waking up to the endless space, the stars, and the deep mystery of the universe, just knowing she was a piece of that massive puzzle. And when Maggie asks about those space colonies they were supposed to live in, Hank drops the harsh truth. He tells her a ton of things went wrong, so they only kept the absolute geniuses to live up there. The rest of them, sent packing right back to Earth, Hank included. Coming back was a total nightmare for him. His friends are all 20 years older now. He's got no job, and his health took a massive hit too. After dinner, Jack pulls Patrice aside. He begs him to give Hank a job helping out with the house renovations. The guy desperately needs work, and maybe, just maybe, it'll keep him away from the bottle. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Maggie is totally talking down to Elise. She's acting all high and mighty, even though if Elise hadn't gone to space, they'd literally be the exact same age right now. But no, Maggie plays the older, successful lawyer card. She starts giving Elise all this unsolicited life advice, telling her she needs a solid plan, needs to figure out her life, and learn from other people's mistakes. And right before Maggie walks out with the tea, she throws a little shade. She tells Elise her dress is cute, but she's wearing way too much makeup just to get attention. Ouch. Elise is completely crushed. She runs to the bathroom to wipe off her makeup, totally lost on how to deal with Jack and his new wife. When she comes back out, she spots Jack's old rowing gear. She casually asks if he still rows. Maggie? Oh, she is visibly fuming now. She's getting super jealous that this teenage ex knows things about her own husband that she doesn't. Elise and Patrice suggest they hit the water tomorrow. Jack is totally hesitant, but Maggie actually agrees. She tells them to come over and hit the lake. The next day rolls around. They all gather up and try rowing out on the lake. Jack, he can't keep his balance to save his life. He completely forgot how to do it. Elise just laughs and teases him, saying he never had any balance to begin with. Out on the water, they get into some deep talk about Jack's dad. Jack had actually cut ties with him because of his demanding job and that crazy space project he worked on. But now that his dad is gone, Jack wishes he hadn't stayed away all those years. But his life was just always moving way too fast. He never had enough time for anyone or anything else. Meanwhile, back on the shore, Patrice and Maggie are sitting there just watching and talking about Jack. Patrice tells her he just can't picture his buddy jumping into the governor's seat this fast. He thinks Jack really needs to pump the brakes and think this through. But Maggie, she shuts that down real quick. She tells him this has been their master plan for years, building Jack up to be a top-tier politician. She makes it crystal clear. Jack needs to focus on his future, not his weird, messed-up past. Honestly, Maggie is acting super high and mighty. Even with Patrice, Jack's oldest friend, she literally tells him to get up and get back to working on the house. It is painfully obvious from the way she talks. She is all business. She plays a massive, controlling role in Jack's life and his entire career. Out on the water, Jack opens up to Elise. He tells her how much her disappearing totally wrecked him. It changed him into a completely different person. He built a whole new life, got married, and even jumped into the crazy world of politics. Then, Elise asks the million-dollar question. How long did it take him to move on? Jack drops a heavy truth about a year. He met another girl in college. Elise just completely breaks down. You gotta remember, to her, it's only been 2 months. She is absolutely crushed that he moved on after just a year and then went and tied the knot. Jack scrambles to apologize, promising they'll definitely still be friends. But Elise isn't having it. She just walks away and leaves him standing there. Back at home, Maggie is putting the heat on Jack to run for governor. But Jack's head is completely spinning. He can't sleep. He can't even think straight. Suddenly, Patrice and Elise show up. They want him to sneak out and hit the town with them. Jack tries to play it responsible, saying he's prepping for a big interview tomorrow. But he just can't resist. He sneaks out into the night with them, totally behind Maggie's back. They hit up a local hangout, and a teenager named Terry spots them. The kid actually recognizes Jack and is a massive fan. He even gets his girlfriend to snap a picture with him. Then, Terry shoots his shot with Elise. He asks her to hang out with his crew, since, She looks exactly their age. Elise pulls Jack aside, rolling her eyes, saying she's getting pretty used to teenagers hitting on her. Suddenly, an old song blasts through the speakers. Their song. They hit the dance floor and just let loose, having an absolute blast together, exactly like the good old days. They end up spending the rest of the night chilling by the lake with Terry and his friends. The whole night turns into this deep, late-night talk. They talk about how much Jack has changed, how he's so terrified of what people think about his image now, and how he's constantly just trying to please everyone else instead of himself. They go for a walk together to clear the air. Elise tells him that every single friend she's caught up with after 20 years says the exact same thing. They're all totally lost, their dreams and goals completely flipped upside down. But Jack, she's genuinely shocked that he feels this way. Jack tells her it's just part of getting older. The crushing weight of adult responsibilities, it morphs them into totally different people. People who don't even know how to genuinely laugh or just have fun anymore. But Elise, she knows him way too well. She knows exactly why he can't let loose, why he looks so drained and completely different from the guy she left behind. She tells him she's not just some naive kid. She feels his pain. Even though she's trapped in a body way younger than her actual age, it's tearing her apart. She can't even express her true feelings to him or to anyone else from her past. They've all lived 20 years without her, and everything has totally changed. That's when Jack pulls out her coin, the one he kept for 20 solid years. He looks right at her and says, "Not everything has changed." Elise finally pours her heart out. She confesses she still loves him and leans in close, but Jack pulls back. He apologizes like crazy and tells her he just has to leave. He rushes back home, pulls Maggie into a massive hug, and tells her how much he loves her. Fast forward to the next day. It's his first big TV interview as a candidate for governor. Maggie is watching from the sidelines, beaming with pure pride, until disaster strikes. The interviewer plays a leaked video. It's footage of Jack partying by the lake with Elise and those teenagers. She grills him on live TV, demanding to know how he expects to run for office after a stunt like that. Jack snaps back. He tells her he's on a getaway, and he has every right to blow off some steam, just like any normal human being. He refuses to be just another fake politician pretending to be a perfect robot. He wants to live his own life, his own way. And with that, he literally gets up and walks right out of the interview. Maggie absolutely loses it. She screams at him for throwing away years of hard work over one reckless night. But Jack fires right back, reminding her that she forced him into this interview when he didn't even want to run in the first place. Maggie is heartbroken and furious. She blames him for ruining everything they built. But the real kicker? She brings up the coin. She is so deeply hurt that he kept his ex's coin for 20 whole years, lying to her face, claiming it was just his lucky charm. She breaks down, telling him she tried so hard for so long just to make him truly love her. But that never happened. Despite everything she did for him, she knows he's still in love with Elise. Jack tries to play it off, claiming it was just a normal night out with friends on their vacation. But Maggie? She isn't buying a single word of it. Jack steps out to vent to Patrice. And of course, Patrice hits him with the "I told you so." He warned him not to go see Elise, but Jack wouldn't listen. Jack tries to downplay it, saying it's just a normal married couple fight. He says life changes. He grew up, it's totally normal. But after a few minutes, the truth comes out. He admits to Patrice that he still loves Elise, and he is in some serious trouble. They sit down to hash it out. Patrice lays it all on the table, telling him that if he really wants Elise back in his life, he is going to lose big time. He'd have to start his entire life from scratch. His career, his political run, everything would take a massive hit. But Jack drops a bombshell. He confesses he doesn't even feel like he's achieving anything in his career anyway. Why? Because this whole political path was Maggie's choice, not his. He feels like he's just a character trapped in a video game. Every time he succeeds, he just levels up and is forced onto the next stage. And here's the kicker. He also admits he can't just be with Elise either. A decision like that, it's nowhere near that simple or fast for him. His real problem isn't just his love for Elise. The truth is, he is completely lost in his own life. He hasn't made a single choice for himself in years. He never does anything just because he wants to. There is always someone standing behind him, pulling the strings and telling him what to do. He tells Patrice he's going to head back to the house. He needs to patch things up with Maggie and figure out his life. But when he walks through the door, he finds Maggie with all their bags completely packed. She has decided they are heading back home. Jack immediately owns up to it. He admits he was totally out of line, and it was wrong to just jump off the tracks of their life together to go chase his past. He tells her he loves her and truly appreciates everything she's done for him. But Maggie stops him. She tells him they have to go back tomorrow because of the interview. That disastrous, rebellious interview, the public absolutely loved it. Now, they aren't just talking about him for governor. They're talking about him running for president in a year or two. And guess what? He's already booked for another massive TV interview. Maggie totally flips the script. She says she isn't even mad at him anymore. She claims it's perfectly natural for a guy with real feelings to have a little slip up, as long as he's finally decided how he's going to live the rest of his life. Before heading out, Jack goes to see Elise one last time to say his goodbyes. He apologizes for everything that went down between them. He tells her he truly wishes she never went to space and that they could have had their chance together 20 years ago. Elise looks right at him and says, "But I'm back now. We can make a second chance right here." But Jack just shakes his head and apologizes. He tells her he already has a completely successful life built right in front of him. He tells her that they don't really love each other anymore because they just aren't the same people they were 20 years ago. But Elise drops an absolute bombshell. She was actually one of the geniuses chosen to stay up in the space colonies. But she swapped her name with someone heading back to Earth. She did it all just to be with him, even knowing he'd be 20 years older. She truly loves him, and the second she got the chance to come back, she took it to find him. She apologizes, saying she was dead wrong for acting like a foolish teenager. She tells him to just go on and live his life exactly the way it is. As she turns to go inside, Jack grabs her arm. He needs to talk to her again. But Hank, her dad, sees the whole thing. He charges out and straight up punches Jack, warning him to stay the hell away from his daughter. That night, Jack and Maggie pack up and leave. They hand the house keys over to a real estate agent Maggie hired, planning to flip the place for a good price once the renovations are done. 6 months fly by. Jack is back to his normal routine. And Maggie, she's on him like a hawk as usual, pushing him to keep climbing the ladder straight to the presidency. He's about to go live for a massive TV interview, but suddenly, he just walks out. He leaves the whole set. Maggie chases him down, shoving the house sale contract in his face. She found a buyer, and the price is perfect, but Jack flat out refuses. He tells her he is done living his life under her strict orders, even if it means becoming the president. He doesn't even want to sell the house. He finally admits it. This isn't the life he wants, and he is absolutely miserable. Maggie fires back. Is he still thinking about Elise? But Jack shuts it down. He tells her these are his own life issues, and they have nothing to do with Elise. He drops the hard truth. Even without Elise in the picture, their marriage feels like a straight-up business contract. She's always just managing him to get a win. He tells her she needs to chase her own ambitions and stop forcing them onto him. He confesses that he's spent all his time since that vacation doing some serious soul-searching, and he realized he's turned into a completely different person than he ever wanted to be. So, Jack heads back to his old hometown. He shows up at Elise's door with a bouquet of flowers, but she's not there. Instead, a stranger opens the door. She tells him they bought the place after the previous owner passed away. Hank is gone. Jack tracks down Patrice, who tells him Elise moved to a new spot. Patrice actually drives him right to her new workplace, but Jack doesn't go inside. Instead, he hands Patrice a handwritten letter to give to her and just watches her from a distance. In the letter, he tells her he really thought about coming back to her, especially now that he finally knows himself and what he wants out of life. But he realizes that wouldn't be fair to her. She deserves the chance to live out those years he got to live, to really figure herself out. I mean, how can she make a massive life choice at only 18? It took him 20 whole years just to realize he was living his entire life completely wrong. Then, he drops a massive bombshell. He tells her that by the time she's reading this letter, he will already be on a spaceship. He's heading up to the space colony for 5 whole years. He tells her she is totally worth freezing a few more years of his life for. Plus, he needs to go through a brand new wild experience of his own. It's the only way he'll finally find some peace with his choices. And he leaves her with a promise. If he makes it back, and she still loves him, he'll be waiting for her at the exact same spot where they first met 20 years ago, so they can finally be together. Fast forward 5 years, Jack actually returns to Earth. He heads straight to that very first meeting spot, and he waits. He waits for hours and hours until finally, Elise shows up. They finally get their second chance, together at last.